Badass women and those in training. Hey there, join me, your host, Vickie Nevins, a lifelong badass, as we explore conversations with unique, interesting, and extraordinarily fierce women who found squeezing lemons and sporting rose-colored glasses as a way to survive, overcome, and thrive through all of life's challenges. Badass women and those in training. May we know them, may we be them, may we raise them. Are you a badass or are you in training? Tune in and let's talk. Hey there, it's time to buckle up, Buttercup. I am excited for you to meet my friend. She's a dynamic, fun-filled, native Georgia peach with 2 adult children and 2 cats. She's a certified health coach, a master transformational coach, hypnotist, published author, podcast, and speaker. Her business, the Enlightened Peach, is focused on helping women stop dieting and start eating to thrive while gaining confidence, joy, and peace. And maybe we will learn how to live our peachiest lives. All that aside, Vickie Poole is fun, feisty, and fearless. And you are all going to love learning how Vickie became a badass and how you can too. Hi there, you guys. Vickie Nevins, host of Badass Women and Those in Training. Today we're squeezing lemons and sporting the rose-colored glasses with our guest today, Vickie Poole. She also spells her name with an I-E.
I know, only the best ones do.
I know it. Good morning, Vickie.
Morning.
Thanks for making time with us today. How are you on this beautiful fall day?
Just grateful to be alive, and I'm grateful to be here. It's a beautiful day here in Georgia. Yes. I'm just grateful that we don't have snow or anything like that right this time of year.
Would you quit saying the S word? That's funny. What's your favorite season?
Well, it's always been summer for me. And part of that is because you can do so much outside. You don't have to worry so much about weather. And, in Georgia, we have amazing season changes.
Tell us a little bit about your journey into the world of health and wellness podcasting and how it all began.
Okay, well, I was even on a live this morning explaining a little bit. The very first time I went on a diet, I was in the 3rd grade. And, I wasn't fat by any means, but like I was alluding to this morning, it's a learned behavior. My father was always on a diet, and he had like these cans of Slender, which I guess the equivalent now would be Slim Fast, maybe, but he had those in the refrigerator. I remember I looked in the refrigerator and I got one of them out of curiosity, and I read the back, and it said that if you drink one, you'd lose weight. So remember, I'm only in the 3rd grade. So I thought, okay, well, if you can drink one and lose weight, if you drink more, you'll lose more weight. So I drank 3 of them because I wanted to lose a lot, right? And I got in a lot of trouble for that. But that was the first time I remember actually consciously deciding that I wasn't enough and that I needed to change. And that followed me throughout my life. And there was so many times I've been a yo-yo dieter since that time. And part of it is when I did that, anytime you deprive yourself in a certain way or you do these crazy diets and everything, you're slowing your metabolism down. Your body turns into this thing where it's going to start holding on to things. And then you have to lower the calories a little bit more. You have to do more things to stay where you want to be. And so I was just constantly doing this kind of thing. And one of the times that I'll share is I had gone over to my sister's house. My daughter was going to catch the bus at her house, and then her granddaughter was going to be there catching the bus too, because it was her granddaughter's first day of school, riding the bus. So we go, and she's taking pictures and she's doing all these things. And later on, she was showing me the pictures of, oh, look, the kids and all this stuff. And all of a sudden I saw this one picture and I said, who is that? And she looked at me and she said, what do you mean? I said, who is that in that picture? And she said, Vickie, what are you talking about? I said, who is that? She said, Vickie, that's you. I said, what the hell? I said, that's me, because it wasn't a full on picture. It was kind of like at an angle. I couldn't see my face, but the body and everything in this picture, I thought, there is no way that's me. And she said, Vickie, it's just the way you're standing. And I said, if I can stand any way and look like that, I don't like it. And so that day, I decided I was going to do something about it. So that at that point, I was quite overweight. I don't even remember how many pounds I was overweight, but I would walk to the mailbox and be out of breath. So I started doing it where I would walk to the next mailbox in the back. And then, gradually I was walking a little bit more. And I thought, as many times as I've done this, I'm going to need to do something that will push me into more action and staying on task, right? So that day, I happened to open up a newspaper, and there was this little ad for a marathon, half marathon to benefit Cancer Society, or I don't even remember what the benefit was. But I thought, that's what I should do. I'll do that. So I went to this meeting where everybody's supposed to come. And this was like in the early spring. And I go to this meeting and I look around, and there's nobody that looks like me. Most of them might not have been real fit, but most of them look like they were people that got up and exercised and probably ate a little bit better than me. And so they're standing up there and they're talking, and they said, you can walk if you don't want to run. And I thought, okay, good. I've got this, because I can walk, And then they said, so the half marathon is 13 point, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 miles. And I almost swallowed my heart. Holy shit, I can hardly even walk to the mailbox. And now I'm going to sign up for this thing, right? And I thought, okay, I can do this. Well, I'm a full-time hairstylist. And so when they were doing all their trainings, they were doing it on Saturdays during the day. Well, that was when I worked. So I couldn't do any of the training. So I thought, how is this possible? And I thought, well, I'm doing this. I'm going to do it no matter what. So when I signed up, I had to tell them, that I was not going to be able to do any of their trainings, that I would train on my own. And so there were going to be times that we had to check in and make sure that we were on task. And so I said, okay, I'm on my way. So I tell my sister that I've signed up for this. And she said, you did what? And I said, yeah. And I said, I'm going to train until time, and I am going to complete that race. I said, it started at like 4:00 in the morning was when you had to be there, right? And I said, even if later on they've got a lantern out there in the middle of the night and they're saying, we still got one out, I said, I will go across that finish line. And so I was damn determined I was going to make it work. So I started training on my own. But by the time it came time for the check-in with them, which was about a month before the race, I was walking 4 miles a day and doing 13 miles on Sundays. And I will say, the first time I did that 13 miles, when I got home, I had my door, there was a stoop that was about this high, right? I could barely lift my legs to get up that stoop. And I walked in the door, and my daughter was sitting there watching TV, and she said, Mom, you don't look good. I went into the bedroom and I was going to take a shower, but I couldn't even do it. I just laid down on the bed, fell asleep, and took a shower later. But by the time, I got to the end of it, I was doing great. I lost tons of weight, but I never changed my eating. I never changed anything. I just was doing all this walking. And the interesting thing is, I didn't even know anybody, because I hadn't been going to any of the meetings or anything like that, because they were all on Saturdays. So the day before the race, they had like this big spaghetti dinner for everybody. And so you could carb up before the race. And so as I'm sitting at this table with a bunch of people, I end up having a conversation with this woman and her husband. And during that conversation, we decided that, since I didn't have anybody I was going to be walking with, I could walk with her. Now, we looked like Mutt and Jeff, because I'm only 5'1", and she was probably 5'10". To me, she seemed like she was 7 foot tall. I don't know, but she was very tall. And so we did the race, and we finished the race, and her husband was standing there just doing all this stuff as we crossed the finish line. I had pictures, I got a little emblem and everything. And I was so elated that I had accomplished this thing that I never would have imagined that I could do. And one of the reasons I like sharing this story is because this is what we typically do if we are a yo-yo dieter. We go extreme on things. Like I said, I didn't change anything I ate, but I lost a lot of weight. So then once this event was over, I wasn't walking 4 miles a day and 13 miles on Sunday because I wasn't training for anything. And since I hadn't changed any of my food, it didn't take very long at all for me to start packing the pounds back on. And it really took a while for me to realize that I was doing this over and over and over again. And that's when I decided I had to do something different. I wanted it to be where food was not my main thought all the friggin' day. And so I searched for how can I make this happen? And I finally decided, well, maybe I could be a health coach. Now, I do things by extremes when it comes to this stuff. So I signed up for this very expensive health coaching program. It was about a year long. So I knew I had a year to get my health in order. And then I'd spent all this money. So it was forcing me to stick with it. And in doing so, I learned so much about me and about health and about our mind, because it's more what our mind is doing than what our mouth is doing. And so it was such a revelation that I continued. I became a life coach and mastery transformational coaching. And then I decided that I wanted to be able to make it where people, me, could do things faster. So then I became a hypnotist. I have 5 certifications in hypnosis because there are all so many different ways to do things. And so that's how my journey got me to here. I know that was a very long story, and I apologize.
That's okay. I mean, it is what it is. That's how you don't get to be to the age you're at and have it be a short story.
That's true. That's true.
So, Vickie,
Mm-hmm.
are you a badass or are you in training?
I think it depends on the day, because most of the time I feel that I am. And then there's other times that I get reminded that maybe not. And then I'm in training.
There's both. I think we're all in both. I can't think of anybody who is always on and not learning, because if you're not learning, then you're stuck.
Yeah. And you're dying. You're dead. If you're not learning anymore, you might as well be.
Yeah. And so, badass people actually are continuing to push that edge of wherever they're at and wherever they're going or what they want to know about or whatever they're trying to perfect. Because, there's always something that we're doing that we want to do just a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
What is the factor that motivates you to just keep moving forward?
Well, the best way I can say this is one of my greatest fears my entire life, no matter what I was going through, was that I would die with my music still in me, that I wouldn't make the difference in other people's lives, and that I would go out without having made the world a better place.
What does it mean to be a badass woman?
Let's see. I think the best way for me to put that is to make peace with where you are right now and recognize that everything that you've gone through in your life has put you into this pivotal moment. So don't look back and frown on, I wish that hadn't happened, or if this had happened different, and those kinds of things. And then when you embrace what you've learned and you really love who you are right now, then that opens up such a way for God, the universe, to be helping you and guiding you in a way that you can't do if you're stuck in the past. And so it's not living all in the past and not constantly dreaming of the future, but finding the joy where you are. And I think anybody that does that and helps other people to maybe see. They may not be teachers or coaches or whatever, but we teach people by who we are and how we show up in the world. So if you're showing up as the confident, amazing person that you are, then I think you're a badass no matter what.
Accepting people where they are and loving them where they're at makes it so much easier to accept who you are and where you're at. That way you give yourself grace and you give yourself permission to be yourself.
Right. And I will say, sometimes for me, the place it starts though is in you, because we are a reflection. What happens out here is a reflection of how we feel about us. So to me, it's like we have to come peace with who we are so that we stop seeing the flaws in everybody else. Because if we're seeing flaws in everybody else, it's because we feel them inside.
So if you were to give your 16-year-old self some advice, what would you give yourself?
To stop being constantly obsessed with my weight, and to not worry about what other people think. If I feel like dancing, dance. If I feel like singing, singing. It doesn't matter if you're out of tune. Nothing matters. To find a way to just enjoy being alive and seeing the beauty in it. Because I know as my 16-year-old self, I was always condemning something about me and fearful of how people would see me.
When faced with self-doubt and fear, how do you push that away? Because we all have that pop in here and there. No matter how confident we are, there's always that self-doubt, that imposter syndrome that creeps in, that little voice that wants to come in there and chink on us. So how do you deal with that?
Well, one of the things that I have done is I have a folder that has like papers in there where I've gone and I've looked at different places in my life that I could celebrate, and I've written them down. And then especially if I get testimonials from clients, or I get somebody that sends me an amazing card about how much I've made a difference in their life, whether it's friends, families, or whatever, it doesn't matter. And so if I ever get to the place where I'm doubting myself, I will just take a deep breath and try to figure out where in my body it's showing up for me. Is there something that's going on that I need to be paying attention to? And then if that doesn't seem to help with that, I go to my folder and I read about things that make me see that I'm remembering, yes, I did this. Yes, I've done this. And then I'm able to embrace more of who I am and not feeling like an imposter, because it's all there in black and white if I ever need to reflect on that.
Maintaining a positive attitude. What would be some first steps for people who are negative Nellies?
Well, the main thing is, I think a lot of times people want to go from point A to point Z. They want to have a positive attitude and be happy and all these things. But there is a thing that I have as a reminder all the time right here. And this is the emotional scale. And so the top emotional thing is joy, knowledge, empowerment, freedom, love, and appreciation. And the bottom one is 22 down, and it's fear, grief, depression, despair, powerlessness. And I think if somebody feels like that, and then for some reason something happens and they get angry, they feel like they have not accomplished getting happier, right? But actually anger is number 17. So from fear to anger, you've still moved up the scale. And so it helps you to see that all the emotions that you have, they have a place and they're part of the journey of getting there. And what I tell a lot of my clients, especially if they have a hard time finding something to be grateful for, I tell them when they wake up in the morning, if they open their eyes and they can see, be grateful for vision. If they can hear, be grateful for their ears. If they can move their body, be grateful that they can move, because not everybody can do that. So if you're a person that can roll over in the friggin' bed, you got a hell of a lot to be grateful for.
Hang on just a second. We're going to pause for just a second.
Okay. All right. So while we're paused, I'm going to run to the restroom real quick.
Sure, you go for that.
All right. I'll be right back.
Sure.
Okay. I'll share a funny story real quick with you if you don't mind.
Sure.
I had this one podcast I was doing and I couldn't get my Zoom on my computer to work. Something was amiss with my computer. So I had to use my phone. And so I had my earbuds in, right? And I told him, I said, well, before we get started, I'm going to run to the restroom. Well, I wasn't even thinking about it. So I go in there, I pee, I talk to the cat, I wash my hands and everything. And I get back and all of a sudden I realize, holy shit, I had my earbuds in. So he heard me pee, he heard me talking to the cat, washing my hands.
So is that a story okay to share?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure. So tell us how
Yeah.
you came back to that and faced that with that person.
Well, when I sat down, I said, I'm so sorry, I still had my earpiece in. And he said, no worries. But that was it.
Did you feel like a rookie at that moment?
I did. But I don't normally do it with, I mean, this I have to take off. The microphone's in here, So I wasn't even registering, that it was a different thing and that I had my earpiece in. But until I got back.
Other people see you as a badass.
Sometimes they do, but I think it depends on, the thing that's interesting for me is that people who have known you all your life, a lot of times never do, because, they know all the ins and outs of what brought you to where you are. And so I think I have like some older friends and some, meaning I've had them a long time, not that they're old. And then some of my family members, I don't think they do. But, I have new friends, new acquaintances, and people that I interact with on social media and things. I think some of them do, but I can't say that I always feel that in the moment,
True. Surrounding yourself with people who lift you and that you see them as, and you admire them, and they make you laugh, and those kind of people, they help lift you into that owning your space.
Yes.
But they see you as the way you want to be seen. And we all need that third party validation.
Yeah.
If it's all the people that's known us forever, they may see that graduated progress, but they don't see the vision of where we're going and what we see in our vision.
Yeah, I think sometimes, especially if it's somebody you've known for a long time, they're used to you and you're in the little context of where you are. And if you're doing something outside of that, they're going to try to pull you into their comfort zone. I don't get, why are you even doing that? Why don't you stop? Why don't you give up? And, so a lot of times that's how some of the people who've known us a long time can treat us. And so you have to have those people that are going to pull you and stretch you, get you out of your comfort zone instead of continuously trying to get you back into theirs. I listened to podcast in the morning, and one of the things in the one this morning, it just happened to be mentioning again, it seems like every video I have watched has had something in there about it. And it's the 5 people that you're around the most. You're going to be right in the middle of those people, regardless of whether they're impoverished, they're ignorant, they're whatever they are, those people. And the interesting thing the way the gentleman talked about it this morning was he said, that doesn't mean you have to get rid of your family, doesn't mean you have to get rid of your kids. It means that in your professional life, be more strategic in who you surround yourself with. Being more strategic with who those people are and not saying just because you don't meet this criteria, you can't be my friend anymore. But it means that's not where you're going to get your advice. That's not where you're going to get your stretch and those kinds of things, because what they're stretching you to is probably not where you're wanting to go, whether it's in the wrong direction or if it's in the past.
I definitely am constantly stretching my circle of influence and influencers, so
Mm-hmm.
that people that, you're almost scared spitless to talk to them, and you
Yeah.
do. And you know what I mean? Then you go, oh
Yes.
gosh, what is that friends?
It's like,
Because
they will never be my friend. I know it, but I'm going to try anyway. And then you're
right,
shocked. Oh.
exactly. Yeah, they talk and they're normal,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So it's fun. It's fun to stretch that vision. And it's stretching your comfort zone, stretching your vision, stretching your muscles, whatever you want to call it. It's just moving in the direction that you have that instinct that says, I should do that. And if it holds you back a little bit, that means you should do it more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you coach your hair care, your hair clients?
Oh, of course. Yes. And I will say some of them have become paying clients for coaching and hypnosis too.
So the phrase work-life balance, do you just chuckle with that one?
Yes. There's no such thing.
So
Yes.
how do you manage being a full-time stylist and having a business of your own? How do you manage your schedule and your creativity? How do you make it work?
Well, it's something that I have adjusted over the years, and it depends a lot on what stage I'm in. Like right now, I'm really focused on getting more visible, getting more into my coaching hat, my hypnosis hat. And but I'm very strategic with my calendar. I have like 3 different calendars that all have to speak to each other. So I'm always looking at one of my calendars and making sure where I'm at, because if I don't, I will think in my mind, I don't have anything down for the next hour, go to get coffee, and somebody calls me and says, wait a minute, I'm here. Where are you? And it's like, this happened. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I'll be there in just a minute. So, or more like 15 minutes. And I said, if you're in a hurry, we can reschedule, but if not, I'll be there. She said, good, I'll just wait. But that one made me realize that not only do I have to have it in my mind, but before I make a step to do something, I visually look at my calendar to see, is there something on there that I wasn't remembering?
I know that I had to move around and change different calendars and work different ways and setting the right alarms.
Yes.
That
Every appointment on my calendar has 2 alerts. That's always.
I relate. And
Yeah.
and then after my stroke, I had to learn a whole new way of thinking of
Ah.
how to schedule myself and to know my timing and my attention span.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. During COVID, one of the best things I think that ever happened to me was the shutdown, because it had me in a place where I had to reset. And that's when Zoom expanded. And I had an opportunity while things were shut down. I went on a trip. And when I opened back up, because the way they had the guidelines set, I had to have a long enough space between each client. I had to have time to sanitize everything in the salon, and make sure everything was good. And so I still do those things. I still give this big gap between clients, because one of the things I discovered during that process, which I never would have even believed was possible, is that people start appreciating that. And you can still get those clients all taken care of, and nobody gets mad. You don't have anybody sitting over there waiting because somebody took too long and now it's infringed on the next person's appointment, that kind of stuff. When my client leaves, I clean up, I take a breath, I'll get me something to drink. Sometimes I'll get a snack. Then my next client comes. And so I have still have that time adopted in my salon calendar. And I do the same with my other calendars too, that I give myself room to breathe instead of rushing from one thing to the next.
Absolutely. It's priceless. It's very liberating. And you feel like, it's refresh, recharge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when they say, when the going gets tough, the tough get going, what's your toughness mantra that helps you push through challenging times?
Well, when challenging times come, the same thing I tell my clients, if you've got a big enough why, you can get through any challenge. And so it's like, you have to have a good why. You have to have a reason to even make the effort. I can either sit back and stay in my comfort zone and give up if things get hard and just say, okay, well, I guess I wasn't supposed to help that many people. Or I can say, I'll push through this because I know I'm going to help this many people. And so I think it's just having a big enough why.
So a nugget or a takeaway for some of the ladies who may be aspiring to be badass.
I guess it's the nugget is, since we don't know what we don't know, find somebody that does know further than where you are so that they can help guide you along your path instead of you spinning your wheels and trying to do it on your own.
Well, Vickie, I want to thank you for spending time with us today because our time is at the end. It's been a pleasure. It's always fun to chat with you. I could chat with you all day long.
It is fun.
Yes, it is. And so until our next conversation, this is Vickie Nevins, your host of Badass Women and Those in Training.
Thanks for joining me today for a little fun. It's all about squeezing lemons and sporting rose-colored glasses on all kinds of topics for all of my fabulous, fearless friends. That's it for today. So until our next conversation, this is Vickie Nevins, your host of Badass Women and Those in Training. Real conversations with extraordinarily fierce women and so much more. Thank you for watching. In addition to all of the podcast hosts, you can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. To catch all of our upcoming episodes, remember to like, follow, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring that bell.